Okay? Just a European name that the Europeans used to write through, created by the Europeans. They took this name, Manetho, and said that he was an Egyptian priest during the time of Ptolemy II Philadelphus. And Ptolemy II Philadelphus, this is how the story goes. Suppose I have asked Manetho to write a history on his ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. And Manetho constructed, supposedly, a chronology of ancient Egypt. This is what they're saying. Okay? But James Henry Breasted, in his book, A History of Egypt, denounces Manetho. Okay? So there's never been a Manetho in world history, just a name for the Europeans to write through. A history or a supposed chronology of ancient Egypt. You see that? Now, let's get back into where the chronology of ancient Egypt came from. It didn't come from no Manetho, because there's never been a Manetho. Okay? And during the time of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, 3rd century BC, the Greeks couldn't read or write anyway. They had no institutions or anything like that. So there was no Manetho. Where are they getting the chronology of ancient Egypt? Did the ancient Egyptians, the question has to be asked, did the ancient Egyptians write a history of themselves? The answer would be no. History, like I said before, is a creation created by the Europeans during the Renaissance era of Europe. Okay? So now where did the chronology of ancient Egypt come from? Come from the Europeans. They created it. Ancient Egyptians didn't write no chronology of themselves. If they did, you can't read it anyway because it's in hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics has never been deciphered. That's in my book too. In the appendix section. Why Metanetial hieroglyphics has never been deciphered. Page 146. Now, here you have in the curriculum of today's schools a chronology of ancient Egypt. Where did it come from? It came from the Europeans. I have two chronologies of the supposed chronology of ancient Egypt. One I got out of a book that was printed in 1868. And that chronology of ancient Egypt, and all chronologies of ancient Egypt, is based off of the Bible. This 1867 or 68 publication in this book, it says that the first pharaoh of Egypt was Menes or Mesram. In parentheses, they put Menes in there. Who is Mesram? They tell you that Mesram was the son of Ham, grandson of Noah. That's biblical literature. That's coming from the family and table of nations written in the Bible. You see that? And then they said that this Mesram or Menes first came into existence in 22 BC, or 2400 BCE. Okay? And then they go on and list the other supposed dynasties after that. But then they give you biblical references on the way down to tell you where they are basing these areas of supposed dynasties to come from. You see that? Now, James Henry Breasted and Edward Meyer, a German scholar, at the turn of the century, created an updated chronology of ancient Egypt. Okay? But their chronology, they said, was consisting of the first pharaoh, which was Narmer Menes. They dropped Mesram from the name. They created another name, Narmer Menes, and even created a supposed Narmer palette, whereby this Narmer on this pallet is pictured with a hatchet smiting his enemies, who's below him, who's knocked out or being hit. Okay? James Henry Breast and Ed Meyer started their first dynasty as 3400 BC. Okay? Now, if you go back to the first dynasty, the first chronology that I was telling you about, that came out of this book that was printed in 1867, 68, up in that area. The first chronology of ancient Egypt was by Mesram, the son of Ham. Okay? And that chronology was started in 2400 BCE. I'm sorry, 2200 BCE. That was a 12-year difference, a 1200-year difference between the first one and that was in 1867 book, and the one that was created by James Henry Breast and Ed Meyer. It's a difference, you see, of 1200 years. And then they modulate all the way down, and then the next thing you know, you got the Hyksos in there. There's never been no Hyksos invasion of ancient Egypt. Never did. Never was. You see?
Why were they put in?
To try to get Jews in that area, that geographical land area, or that part of the hemisphere over there. Trying to get Jews over there. They said that Hyksos was shepherd kings. Okay? That they were a part of the extension of Jews. You see, try to get them validated by way of the chronology of ancient Egypt. Again, Clemson, you have to understand that all history that is written today is written to sustain a Jew in human form as told in Bible literature. That's how it's written. You got to remember that Jews control all of your major institutions around the world today. They contribute money to these institutions, so they can control these institutions. So if the institutions don't do what they want, they can pull their money, and that's it.
Then they talk about those intermediate periods during history. Well, what would the history of Egypt have looked like? Do you have any idea if there wasn't the rise and the fall and the chronology that they claim Manetho wrote? What would, if you can give us a picture, what it might have looked like?
No one knows. The only thing that you can use now is your imagination to fill in the blanks. See, you can do that, I can do that, anybody can do that. The Europeans do it every day.
All right, now, when we go out to the Valley of the Kings, where we see all of these pharaohs actually in their coffins with their writings and their treasures and everything that are there, it is a testament that they did live and die at some point, and they have correlated most of the kings that they found in the Valley of the Kings with the chronology that Manetho was supposed to have given. They found the tombs to validate that.
The tombs are there, but you cannot use Manetho for anything but an incarnated name created by the Europeans to write through. Okay? The tombs are there. That has nothing to do with the actuality or the reality of the tombs being there and the ancient Egyptians being there. The ancient Egyptians did not write a chronology of themselves. If so, it was done in pictorial form. And those pictures are called Meta Nature hieroglyphics that have never been deciphered. And see, you have to understand that the ancient Egyptians never wrote a history of themselves. That's very, very clean, very clear.
Okay, then let's talk about, because we've dealt with that whole period now of the falsification and the creation of a history where we can see now how one can put themselves in history. But let's begin to